Hello everyone, and thanks for stopping by the first video on my channel. If you haven't read the description of my channel, I pretty much read anything that I find creepy on the internet. So Reddit stories, creepypasta stories, stuff like that. I just wanted to say again thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy this first video. This is 3 creepy Reddit stories from Let's Not Meet. Also, the intro won't be in every video. I just wanted to do this because it's the first video. Anyways, enjoy. So back in February, there was a man that looked homeless walking up and down my street. My partner and I were outside working in the yard, so we paid a little attention, but didn't think anything of it. The next day he showed back up, walking up my driveway and camped on my porch. When we asked what he was doing, he said he was gonna fix this place up real nice, get himself a dog and some flowers in the front. We asked him to leave, to which he answered, "No, I live here now. I have the papers giving me permission to live here." He then handed us a change of address form from the State Housing Authority, where he had changed his mailing address to mine. This was not permission to live at my home, but letting them know to send his mail there. I should point out, at this point, I have no idea who this guy is. I have never met this guy, neither has my partner. We asked him to leave again, or we would call the cops after getting a picture of the form. I spent all day on the phone with the state housing agency, trying to figure out what the hell, but they had no answers. A week goes by, and we don't hear from the man. Then, I walk out to check my mail, and he's just waiting there at the mailbox. He opens it every few minutes, but the mail hasn't come yet. He tells me to leave him alone, and I guess this doesn't concern me. He doesn't want to talk to me. He's just waiting for him to check, and then he's going to go home. I reminded him that he doesn't live there, and I start dialing the cops. He takes off swearing at me the whole way. The cops ask if he was on the property currently, and when I say no, they say call back when he is and they will come out. I also put a hold on my mail that day because I don't know if he was stealing it. A few weeks go by, and strange things are happening around the outside of my house. My trash cans get taken to the street and then brought back. My weeds are pulled. My lawn furniture is rearranged, but I don't see the guy again. The cops offer to add more patrols, but unless they catch him on the property, they can't do anything. They start to act like I'm crazy because I'm calling every day. At one point, the officer that came out after the threatening notes taped to the front of the door and asked me if I can prove this person doesn't live here, because this sounds like a domestic dispute. We don't handle those. I start to feel like I'm going crazy. Finally, after about a month of this, and my husband and I came home from a late dinner out with friends. We walk into the house and start to smell shampoo, and then we hear the shower. Then we hear the sounds of someone talking. We turn around and leave, get in the car and park it at the end of the street to call the cops at the front door. The cops come, they have megaphones and keep telling him to come out of the house with his hands up. No response, so they charge the front door and drag him out of the shower. There is a struggle and he starts to fight them. He can't believe he's being treated this way in his own home. How dare they? We can hear him yelling from our vantage point at the end of the street. He won't come willingly, so the cops taser him in the front hallway. He is finally compliant at that point. They grab my husband's shoes from next to the door and tell him to put them on. They march him out to the waiting police car. After filling out all the reports, we are allowed to go back inside the house. He had smashed out all of our windows so that there was glass everywhere. He ate the leftover chicken parm in the fridge. In my bedroom, my bed is messed up. He had slept in my own bed. My clothing is all over the floor because he emptied my dresser to put things in. We had just had our dog a few months before the urn was on the table. He broke it open and spread all the ashes all over the bedroom and the bathroom, which might be why he was taking a shower. He used an entire bottle of $90 skin serum and almost a whole bottle of shampoo. but he folded all my towels he had taken to the bathroom with him nicely and hung them on the rack. Thank God he didn't hurt my cats. He is currently in jail on 3 charges: breaking and entering, assaulting an officer when he fought the cops, and destruction of property. His trial is next week. I have been in touch with the DA and the arresting officer, both of whom have spoken with him. He is pissed he is in jail and keeps telling them to let him out because no one is watching his house and he doesn't want it to get broken into. I'm still getting his mail. I've been trying to think on some creepy things that have happened to me, as I know I have plenty of them, and love to share them with a community like this one. This one is from when I was younger, and while I was not too old when this happened, I remember it pretty clearly. One day in the summer, I'm pretty sure it was a Thursday because that was a trash day, not that it really matters, I was home with my mom and younger brothers. At the time, I was probably about 9 or 10, making one of my brothers around 8 and the youngest 4. We had been outside for the majority of the morning, playing wiffle ball, hide and seek, and climbing trees with the neighborhood kids. Our neighborhood was always very family friendly and considerably safe, so much so that people left cars unlocked and front doors open. We rarely saw someone walking that we didn't know, and our parents all around felt okay letting us roam around. On this day in particular, I remember it being extremely hot, and after being out all morning, the noontime sun kicked in, and we all went out to our respective houses to eat and cool off before resuming our afternoon playtime. As my brothers and I had settled on the couch to watch some Disney show, our front doorbell rang. This in itself was unusual, as all of our friends would just go to the back door, and even most delivery men had learned that we never used this door. Because of this, our standing rule was that only adults could answer this door, and it was usually salespeople or strangers. My mom went to open the door and saw a man standing there. He began peeking in our front door as if trying to see past her. She politely asked him what he was there for, and he replied that he was looking for her son. I remember this man jumping around and being very antsy, wringing his hands back and forth in a nervous manner. Now looking back, he was probably on something, but at the time, I didn't know exactly what was wrong with him. Nothing looked wrong. He didn't have any physically thing wrong that I could see. And I was confused as to why this older man, probably about 40, was looking for one of my younger brothers. He told my mom that he had seen us playing outside and wanted to get his ball back from my brother, saying that he stole it from him. At this point, I saw my mom slide the lock shut on the screen door. It wouldn't have done much to stop him if he wanted to come in, but it was enough to demonstrate to him that she had no intentions of letting him in. He looked at her and said, "Oh, so you're not going to show me your son? Well, he stole my ball and I need it back. Tell him I'll come back tomorrow." At this, he proceeded to walk away. And then my mom just shut the main door and locked it. Then, he went to the back door and locked that as well. Earlier that day, the trash people had come to our large trash bin's contents, as well as smaller recycling bin items. The recycling bin was long and wide, but short, and green with little symbols on the side. I just remember my mom watching him out the window, and me, the oldest and therefore secondary defender of the family, going over it to look myself. This man proceeded to sit in our recycling bin, grab a stick from our yard, and begin a motion not unlike rowing a boat. My mom yelled out to the window to him, "What the hell do you think you're doing? Leave or I'm calling the police." The following is an approximation of the conversation they had. "This is my boat, and I'm taking it home." "That's not a boat, it's our recycling bin, and you have to leave it here. This is your last chance before I call the cops." "Call them then. I want my ball back. Your son needs to pay." At this point, my mom did call the cops and told them what was happening. They said that they would be coming shortly, and I think that the man must have seen my mom on the phone because he quickly jumped out of the bin and started dragging it along the sidewalk, hurrying away. When he had heard the sirens coming near, he dropped it and ran. The police said that he didn't take anything, so there was nothing they could do. They said that they would keep an eye out for him and drive through the neighborhood a few times. I don't think they ever found him, though, as we heard nothing more about it. That evening, my mom let my brothers and I invite the neighborhood kids over to play video games, watch movies, and then eat pizza. Then, it was an awesome thing, but now I know it was because she didn't want any of us playing outside. The man never did come back the next day, leading me to believe he was just delusional or on some kind of drug. Either way, I'm glad he didn't try anything with my family, and I hope we never meet again. Almost 2 years ago, I was admitted to a youth psych ward because I was very suicidal. My time there was actually good, and it helped me out a lot. Other than meeting John, the staff and other patients were all very friendly towards me, and I had made some friends with the short amount of time staying there. The majority of patients were female, including me, and the 3 other patients would always eat our lunch, breakfast, and dinner together. And we would always spend time together when we had the free time. In that short period of time, we became very close. We barely knew each other, and we knew that we would probably never going to see each other again, but we all shared this kind of bond together that I can't really explain. The 3 names of them were Jane, Grace, and John. Jane, Grace, and I were all in the hospital for mainly the same thing. We were all very suicidal and depressed. Grace said that she tried to overdose and that's why people lived there. She woke up here. Jane never really talked about what happened other than that she tried to kill herself. John, on the other hand, was there for a very different reason. Yes, I know in the hospital you shouldn't ask why people are there, but we were all pretty close and didn't really mind. First off, John did not seem like he belonged in a ward. He wasn't depressed, he wasn't suicidal, there wasn't any anxiety, nothing. He was very outgoing, and he was always smiling and joking around. He never really seemed angry or upset, and every day seemed to be a good day for him. Thought he was completely normal. This obviously made us question why he was even in here in the first place, and I asked him why he was here. He was very hesitant to answer, and he never fully answered the question. We tried to get him to tell us why, but he never really said anything, and then I asked him jokingly, "What, you want to kill people?" He looked at me, dead in the eye, and stared at me blankly for what seemed like eternity. His face was void of emotion, and then he nodded silently. There was just something about how he did that I will never forget. And I knew he was being dead serious. However, quickly, as that happened, he bursted out laughing and saying he was just kidding around. I laughed nervously, and then our day went back to the usual. Part of me believed he was just messing around, but I knew there was something very wrong with John. A couple days later, the doctors told me that I was ready to be discharged. I was the first one out of all of us to be discharged, and I was sad to leave my new friends, but I was happy to be back home. I said my goodbyes, and I have never seen any of them again. Probably 6 months later, after my hospitalization, it started to happen. I started to get these weird cryptic messages sent to me on my social media. Some of them were almost threatening at times. Sometimes I would get them every day for a week, and then sometimes months would pass without getting one. The messages would always be in broken English and would make no sense at all. One of the messages was saying that there was a person who lived inside my house and would hide in my kitchen. He then said that when I slept at night, he would float over me and watch me sleep every night. I didn't know who the messages were coming from at the time, but I was extremely scared. Some of the messages were extremely apologetic, and then the other ones were about how they're going to burn me in hell for all eternity. They disturbed me, however, I didn't think much of it other than someone trying to play a prank on me. I stopped reading the messages, and eventually I just stopped getting them. Well, for a while anyway. Everything was back to normal, and then the harassing messages seemed to have stopped for a few months now. I ride horses, and one of my horses had passed away, so I posted a picture of her on Instagram to remember her. Soon after that, I received a message that made me feel sick to my stomach. It was 2 links to a photo sharing site. And I knew it was the same person who had sent me those messages, so I clicked on it anyway. The first link was a photo of my mother's bedroom. There was a decapitated horse lying on the bed that had been photoshopped in. The image was heavily distorted and everything was red. The caption below of the image said, "He is burning in hell and there's nothing you can fucking do." I was horrified and I didn't know what to do. Whoever was sending me those messages knew exactly where I live, and they were starting to get more and more threatening. I felt sick. My horse, who I had loved, had just died. Someone sent me this? Why would someone ever do something like this? And then there was that second link. I didn't want to click on it, but I had to know what it was. I clicked on it, and it was a link to a whole photo album of pictures of just me. There were over 70 photos of me, ranging from years ago to some very recent ones. They were all taken from my social media or my family's. Photos of me that were taken with other people in it were edited, so everyone else's face but mine was scratched out. The name of the album was my address. I stopped using social media for a while after that, and I couldn't sleep. I felt as if someone was watching me. Just as before, after I got sent those 2 links, I didn't get anything for a while. It was actually the longest amount of time I didn't get anything, and about after a year, I got those links. I got a comment on my photo of my dog on Instagram. The comment read, "Your dog Caesar, appreciation moving to the cessation." Caesar was the name of my dog who died 6 years ago. I instantly messaged the account demanding them how they knew this and who they were. The account was private and had 0 followers or posts. He left the message on read for a couple of minutes and then just replied with a single picture, a picture of my bedroom. I said, "So you're the one who's been sending me the messages," and he admitted to it, and he was apologizing. I promised him that if he told me who he was, I would talk to him, and I did. It turned out to be John. We were messaging for hours, and he told me everything. When I asked him why he would do this, he couldn't really explain it. He referred to it as the call of Satan, or just the call. I remember in the messages he would refer to this a lot because he said he would getting this unexplainable urge to do whatever the call was telling him to do, and he couldn't stop it. He extremely remorseful, but I could still not wrap my head around why he would do something like this. He wanted me to help him so badly, but I think he is behind my help. I blocked him, and I hope I would never see him again. The worst part is that he said, right before I blocked him, "You're not the first girl I've done this to."